Hello, class. Okay, good morning. Right now we are talking about our CSCI 310, our cybersecurity, and today we will move on lecture part. So we will talk about more about what's the cybersecurity, like definition about CIA. And for cybersecurity, always they need to deal with like two things. One is about security of the end system. Okay, so those including the operating system or the like we using maybe Windows, Mac OS, Linux system. Okay, right now maybe some ARM. Okay, maybe the files in the host record database, all these accounting information. Okay, and the next will be the information in transit over a network. So including some maybe some transactions, online banking, emails, transfer files, records. Okay, so all this. So when we just like say code from like using encryption on the internet is equivalent arranger and arm the card to deliver credit card information from someone living in cardboard box to someone living on the park bench. Okay, so it's the same idea. So when we learn cybersecurity, then we need to like what kind of things we need to protect. Okay, so when we need to protect, okay, so what the possible channel and way that will be like being attacked. Then we can get the idea. How can we protect it? Okay. And those like basic components of security will increase including the we always talk about CIA, the confidentiality and integrity and availability. Confidentiality is talking about keep the data resources secret or hidden. Okay. And later in the lab, sometimes I'll mention it like if for reading files or which one it belongs to, okay, and which category of like CIA. And the integrity, just ensure the authorized modification includes the correctness and trustworthiness, and also maybe include like data integrity or region integrity. Okay. And availability is to ensure the authorized access to data and resource when desired. Okay, so just like we call back on Tuesday lab or like theory. Okay, when we learned for the system permission. Okay, how can we guarantee CI? Okay, how can we authorize the modification writing, like write permission? Okay, maybe authorize the access to data, like maybe resource when they design, so allowed to read. Okay, or like how can we keep the data resources secret or hidden? Okay, so all this, and also for additional, but we barely mention as like accountability and just ensure the entity action is like traceable uniquely to the entity. Okay, and that's my we know who and we only like who did that. Okay, so it's more like make it simple and security assurance. So it's more like assurance that all the four objectives they are met. So it's like this. And just like comparing past and right now, so it changed a lot. Like we long time ago, maybe we talk about like really physical security, like on the paper, putting a lock, safety transmission. Okay, and for administrative security, just like control access to the material, personnel screening like this. But nowadays, we have more because we have the internet, including the distributed system. So we are more like it makes the system more complex. Okay, and then for some like digital information, we are not really physical printed. Okay, maybe including some competitive advantage, protection of assets, liability or vulnerabilities, all these are included, and financial losses. So so far you see some insider attack result every loss at 2.8 million. They are a lot. And also some reports telling about financial loss to the information security. So between like 5 to 45 billion. So this a lot. Our national defense, they are they're actually pretty open about this one. In all the country they try to there's a team attacking, try to steal information from other country, or like especially in election, that may be pretty popular, let's say Russia, okay, China, they always trying to like they doing in purpose. Okay, sometimes they through the interlink of government agency. So we say like something like they're government based. So they are kind of like open. Okay. And why not just skip your discussion, but I just like go dive into. So including attacks and versus the threats. Okay, so threat there is they are potentially violation of a security. Okay, so we will perform certain we say the tweets. Okay, okay, we have some action. Okay, and also threats their violation they need not like actually occur, but the fact is like when the violation might occur to make it a fact. Okay, so it's important to guard against the threats and then try to prepare for the actual violation. So we call it. So when the really actual violation occur in the security, so we call it really actual attack. Okay. And sometimes one of the attacks called the spoofing. So spoofing, let's say we have the attacker. So they have an actual IP address, assuming 1.1.1, and then it has a they have IP address, and then saying through the TCP. So if they spoof, okay, so they assume that 3.3.3 and send to a destination, go through all the like you see that through all those like routers and then go to our victim will be 2.2.2, so a destination. So it creates some like possible some security average. Okay, so right here. So they will pretend it because like they will think the trusted host is like 3.3.3. Okay, source. Okay. And then they may be the target of a DOS attack. So that's like one of attack or some like DOS. We see like the DOS. So the attacker through the one control like center and then to set up lots of zombie computer and then keep on um sending server paying service to the victim. Okay, so it calls it down. And later you will hear the called a DDoS. It's called a distributed denial of service. Okay, so it's the same idea, but they're more like multiple. Okay. And also we have the man in the middle attack of command. So the attacker, so normally if we are sending the data from the client to our destination, like this original, but for the man in the middle, so they will maybe get some spoof certificate. So if you recall the pictures where he's spoofing, okay, so we pretend it in the middle. So sometimes that because when you access to like why we say using the public Wi-Fi or internet, maybe using the service in airport like Wi-Fi, because they can try to pretend as a man in the middle. Okay, those connections. So sometimes we also try to use a VPN, try to create a direct connection. Okay, so here's a reason. And pretty common security attack, including like interruption, delay, the denial of receive or denial of service. So they will try to make the system access like become like unavailable, like for when the unavailable. And then the second one is the interception or snooping. So it just lets some unauthorized party gain access to information. Okay, so they can like by browsing through the files, reading communication, or they will modify or alter. So they will change the information in transit, like sending it, or like information stored in subsequent access. And then the fabrication, masquerade, or like spoofing. So like this. So they will try to insert into the system on network, so make it appear. So from the legitimate, like they're like thinking they're trustable. Okay, so not to like confuse authentication. Okay, and then the authentication of the origin. So they will like give a false denial that the entire create something. So it's like this. So they're all possible. And for the attacks, like a kill chain, so this kill chain is like total. We have a 7 stage of a cyber attack. Okay, so with the reconnaissance, so they will try to scan the environment or like harvesting the information from social media, and then they will do the weaponization. They will just like pairing the malicious code or like suddenly create some malware, like something like this, and then they try to deliver. They send it to your target maybe through an email, some certain website, put it in the USB. Okay, and then once we deliver, then we move on. They will let it to trigger upon certain action, maybe looking for some vulnerability. That means there's some like backdoor risk. Okay, and if they're able to do that, then they will install a malware on the system. And after they able to install it, then they'll start to like most of them they try to like create some like scan your system and then try to set up a remote, set up the backdoor and then sending all those like your data back to their server, including like this or sometimes encryption. And once they already access it, then maybe they already achieve their objective. Then they maybe some follow up. Let's say if they are doing the ransomware, okay, then they encrypt your system. Then they try to ask you like you have to pay for it, okay, and then they maybe they're paying through the Bitcoin. Then they will unencrypt your system, your hard drive. So they're doing this way. And right here, the matrix like attack or the CK framework. So right here is a pretty large but big framework, like including for different like cybersecurity and this area. So have a rough picture. So I'm not like going into details, and you will see actually it's a huge topic. So including right here, discovery, exclusion, like collections. So right here, put a lot. And for the classes of the threats, you need to know that including will be the disclosure, so will be the unauthorized access to the information. One of example snooping, okay, and then there's the deception, so they accept of the false data, so they will modify or masculine spoofing or will republication of the origin or denial of the receipt. Okay, disruption will be including the interruption, prevention, or correct operation. So maybe they will have a modification, include that. Okay, user partition. Okay, so they will try to unauthorized some control system components. They will including some modifications, spoofing, delay, or DOS. So all these. And here is the target, like always when we're learning like security. Okay, of course you will see right here with prevention is one of the top target like to violating security policy. So that's why we learn like for cybersecurity, we need to learn okay how to create a security policy. And prevention is really hard. Okay, we cannot defend everything. Then we need to do the detection, like always that real time, keep on checking and like detect what activity they violate the policy and verify the efficacy to prevent them prevention mechanism. And later this one, like we always should emphasize, because when we try to do prevention to detection, but always it happens. So we need to be ready. So we need to have a for risk management. We need to have a backup plan recovery. So we need to stop the policy violation. That means the attack immediately. And how can we assess or repair the damage and show the availability? Okay, CIA availability in presence of ongoing attack. Also, we need to fix the vulnerabilities, okay, to prevent a future attack. Of course, like when you figure out the attack in this moment, then we need to look at okay, so where's the backdoor that we need to like fix it. Okay, retaliations against the attacker. So it's like, and for the policy and mechanism, so we include the security policy. So we say what is, what is not allowed. So it's a definition, okay, for the site system for anything. So it can be like informal, formal. So can be mechanism enforce a policy or composition policy or this. If they really conflict, so which one they may create some security vulnerability. So sometimes it may be happen. So when we have two different policy, okay. So and we do have some like information assurance, including the IAAC or National Institute of Standard Technology. So they have it, so you have the idea. And then for the assumption and trust, so those like policy and mechanisms that are implicitly assumption assumptions, like those assumptions regarding the policy, so they are unambiguously like partitioning system, so they stage into like secure and nonsense non secure states, and they try to like correctly capture those like security requirements and to those mechanism, including like try to like enforce the policy. So how can we ensure policy that's good and then non-secure state? Okay, how can we make sure and support some mechanism work correctly? So yes, and more we talk about the assurance includes they indicate how much to trust the system. Also like have to ensure that it's like maybe the require some functionalities and some make sure it's like correctly implemented and sufficient protection. Okay, or like some like sufficient resistance to intentional penetration. Okay, or bypass. Okay, right now it's like they try to more mechanics check to avoid bypass. Maybe long time ago, 10 years, 20 years ago, lots of things we can try to bypass it, as I did before. For some for certain application, you need to like pass through some validation. But if you know they want to, able to access to the web, and then you can connect to VPN, and then you can bypass it. Okay. For details, I'm not saying like how it's going to work, but if you're interested, maybe later, so you can study about it. Okay. For the basic of determine this the trust, so we have like specification. So we need to have some analysis the requirements and then try to make the statement about the design functionality. So then we need to like do the design stage. We need to translate those requirement, okay, into a component to meet it. Okay. And also after we finish design, there will be move on to implementation. So we need to implement the program or make the system certified the design. And in the operational issues, including the cost benefit analysis, so we need to think about, okay, what's the total cost and then what's the benefit? So it's cheaper to prevent or cover. So this here's a good question right here. So it's a trade-off. Okay, so because we cannot guarantee 100% to prevent it. Okay, of course, if you want to prevent, maybe we need to invest like the high cost. Okay, if you spend more money, or is it better or easier to just recover? Okay, of course, it depends on the business operation, like lots of consideration. Then we need to think about the cost. Okay, and then the risk analysis. So should we protect something, or like how much we need to protect? Okay, or the risk maybe depends on environment or change with the time. So we need to analyze it so we can decide. Okay, and then also the laws and the customs. So those like security measures like illegal, or like with the people we do them, or they will affect availability, or like how do they use our technology. So we need to consider all this like in the operational issue. And for the human factor, includes the organizational problem, so including their powers, responsibility, financial benefits, and people problems from outside the inside the how to think, like the welfare or social engineering, all these constitution, they will make the cybersecurity like change. So you see right here, so when they typing all together, the life cycle will be looks like, okay, so they're not a point in the time, but just like for the thread, they affect the policy, and then we set the specification, and we make design implementation. So you see right here this part, and then we need to have operation and maintenance. But sometimes we goes back, okay, goes back, we can go to certain stage, okay, review. So including some human filters. There's a whole life cycle, okay. And for the security policy, then we need to think, okay, what should we work on? Okay, including the strategy, and then strategy, maybe includes like the business, like maybe enterprise security, some business risk. Okay, include these things. And then how can we move on to like structure? Okay, maybe the program, like governance, organization, all these. And then how about the process? Like the process include the risk management, incident response standards, and then the baseline definition like this. And then what are the people? Okay, do they have a skills assessment awareness? So all this So we move on to so for the identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover all the stage, and then including protecting like the data security, application security, endpoint security, network security, and the perimeters security, all these make together. So it's like everything is create the business with like cybersecurity side. So this is a whole picture of it. And just need to know like the cybersecurity policy. So it's just a set of standard of behavior for the activity, like for maybe encryption, email attachment, restriction to use some social media. So all this, okay. No problem. Then how can we make it? Okay. So including in the cybersecurity, we try to set the policy standards, what we say. And then for the stakeholder, we only think about the procedures. So they all like work together. We set them some like control, some metrics. Okay. Okay. And it looks like, and for some possible um example policies, including acceptable use policy, remote access policy, some email encryption policy, password policy, like maybe you're more familiar with the password policy. So they will like how to create and safeguarding password, like the link patterns, the application locates, integers, some special character like this. Okay. Or some social media policy, how can you like use of the social media? Okay. So all this. And for those like security policy, they will have different template available on the internet. You don't have to memorize, but you just need to know, okay, you can get certain template like for protection, data security, or some the identity management and access like this. And when we look at there's some example of settings use policy or password policy or this like. And then for the threat landscape, we need to know the like for the definition including like so when we build it, like it's called like what type of house. Think about it's called attack surface. We call it the attack surface. But when you think about the landscape, will be including maybe your neighborhoods, area, business, politics, like everything, tornado, heat map, all those could match to the malicious activity against your house. There will be the threat landscape. So I say, okay. And then adversary, so will be that like ill intention finance act like carry the malicious activity for again. So we call it, or the threat vector. So will be the techniques or mechanism carried out by the threat actor. Okay, so here's will be some definition we need to know. And when we look at the landscape, so we say here exploitation, so including some RDP, burst force, or something like driven by compromise possible. So maybe some delivery, including some SMS phishing, different type of phishing, email, fake text app, like all this. Okay, and we do have some report, but if you're interested in looking at it, just letting you know. And for the threat actor, so that's what we talked about before. So right here, so they are the group of individual responsible for the cyber attack, and they will like trace or the characteristic of this group. They always available from the community resources, the sources of the intelligence. Sometimes they will have open sources intelligence like this, and other more like types of the actors, including like several type of threats. They have their own motivation, available resources, or like script kiddies, or like hacktivists, or like organized crime, or national stage, like APT, or some insider threat, or like competitors. So they are possible will be the threat actors. And here's will be like have a details like about different actors. So they will try to like, let's say the script kiddies will be like run the real ready-made scripts. Okay, so do not need the deep technical understanding how it actually work. So for they usually like external, sometimes can be internal. So you say, but most of them. And then sophistication, in they put it low, and they rely on the tool created by others. Okay, non-funded. Okay, variation, including maybe the phase of hunt, vandalism, or recognition of harness around. Okay. hacktivist. Okay, those are hacker like with a cause or they're seeking for some cause like disruption. Okay, DOS leaking document like defense their website. So they are mostly will be external. Okay, they're doing medium of classification and fundamentally they have limited resources. Sometimes they have a good have a fundraising capability. Sometimes they want to like ideologically or like political social change. All this they be possible. And organized crime, they will more like professional. Okay. So when people have one explore one sell data, so they have a complete chain for operate. So they're probably for external and really high sophistication. And once they carry attack, then they get lots of fun and pay me money. So you see, okay, for the crime, okay. For the national state, they will mainly from the government military, so mainly from external with very high sophistication. So they will maybe fully back up from the host government. Okay, they target on the national security, some espionage. Okay, so that's what we talk about, some country based. Okay, some country they target. Okay, and then insider, including some maybe employee members of the organization, they want to like seeking some like undermine like operation. Okay, so that's why we say for insider would be internal, pretty low sophistication, but they will possess organization knowledge. Okay, so it will call a pressure point. So most of the time it spend lots of time, but no none of funding, and then there are maybe some other reason and everything. And mainly we talk about the competitor, so other business, so similar working together. So they're mainly from external, depends on maybe medium to high, and it can be well funded. Okay, so we try to get some advantage. Okay, so that's what they get from the competitor. Okay, and that's the first good naming. Okay, and you see the name just like for interest you can look at it. For Russia they call the beer, Vietnam they call buffalo, and then North Korea Kalima. Okay, and then they have a South Korea, and then Iran, Pakistan, and then China. Okay, India. So they have different names. So if you're interested, you can wait it. So for the naming, it's pretty representing or pretty special. Okay, and so far will be end of the lecture of this part. Okay, thank you. So the student attending, because for the lecture part, I'm not required you to attend it. So for some time I will pre-record it or something. I will host it online. So you feel free, like you can attend it within this time, or if I post it early, then you can watch it from the previous recording. Okay.
All right. I just might had one question I need to ask.
Mm-hmm.
When will we have our next assignment for this class?
Okay. Probably next week I will post it our next assignment, then you will have around 2 weeks to complete it. So it's related to the file permission. So about the numeric and symbolic. So I will give you the some situation. Then you need to write the correct numeric and symbolic
All right. So
file
it's next
permission.
Tuesday?
Yes, kind of like I will make it available on Monday or Tuesday. So you will have at least it will be Tuesday. Okay. Then I will talk about it on Tuesdays lab. Okay. And you will have around 2 weeks to complete it. Okay.
Okay. Also, I had a question for the other class I have with you, web development.
Mm-hmm.
The current assignment right now is, let me check this real quick.
Okay.
Why don't I have it open? All right, so the current assignment is to make a one-page React website with form input. And I was wondering if I could like show it to make sure that I got it correct.
Yes, yeah. If you watch the video and then I show you, you need to install the React, right? And then create the React. And I give you some sample code. Actually, the sample code I upload to you, then you can that one is with the form. So you can create a form. Okay, okay. So it looks Pretty nice. Okay. So I would always like recommend if you can finish more, then you can try to okay, you will have a test something. Okay, that's really nice. Okay. So here would be like enough. So I want to just make sure you're able like to create a project because later you need to submit the um
Okay,
this project I call it is a React project, but later because you have a quite kind of like final project, like it's a pretty big project. So I need to
yes,
make sure like you know how to at least create one page. Okay. And then
okay,
later in our lab, I will show you how to create the routers. Actually, I mentioned I'll give you some sample code like how to create multiple page redirecting, and then later, how can you build the API server and then connect to the database? Okay, so here's
okay.
the pathway. And so far, you are good. It looks pretty nice.
Also,
And
another question, how do I turn this in? Do I turn in the source code or do I just take a
um,
screenshot?
s- um, make a screenshot. Also, at least you need to submit the source code. Okay, so if
So
you are using
submit
the
the
VS Code,
screenshot or
right?
yeah, I'm using VS Code to
Okay, so
do
you
this.
can so could you open your VS Code?
Oh yeah,
I
let
will
me
show you.
find it.
Okay, at least if you are like working on the app.js file and then app.css file, then you can just upload these two files. Okay, if you have others, then you can like zip it together and upload it.
Project folder. Oh, that's not it.
You can-
It is.
Okay, okay, it's right here. Okay, you're good. Okay, so right now I saw you have the app.css, right? And then also you have app.js will be these two file. So
Yeah.
you can upload these two and then with a screenshot of your web page, like
All
the
right,
web page.
so just upload the JS and the CSS and a
Yes,
screenshot.
correct.
All
Yes.
right.
Yeah. So then you're all good. Okay. Then I see,
All right.
okay, you're able to complete it. So is it easy, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
yeah. So okay, that's
also
good.
had some fun with animations as well. But yeah.
You're in the key frame. Okay, good, good. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I always recommend, so like I always give you the like some basics, something like that big sample code, but you are always like feel free to like make it more fancy, more powerful. Like you don't have to limit it. Because like everything you're doing, it kind of like help you to encourage skills. So you need to like spend more time on like learning this language or okay. So if you're interested to be, let's say, be a web developer or like I'm knowing the kind of like full stack development, then it's a good process. Like we as a part of it later, you need to learn the API server and then later the database. So you need to design all these things. Okay. But you are all good. So like if you look at for the assignment, then you are kind of like okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was all I wanted to check. Yeah.
Okay, good, good. Okay,
Thank you.
do you have any other question?
I don't know. That's it.
Okay, then have a good one.
You
Okay,
too.
bye.